edition of Yatlife Chronicles, where we are better together than separated. Man, today is a nice day outside, a little chilly out here in Michigan, That's why I got the I-75 north, We on the cold side right now, so it's getting chilly out here. And I got a very special guest today. Her name is Teresina Jackson. She's a philanthropist. She's an entrepreneur. She's a book writer. She is just a very Renaissance woman, that got her hands tied into a multitude of things. We want to talk to her today about, people being raised on love versus people being raised on survival. I also have another guest with us today. Introduce yourself. And she's on my laptop. She's on my messenger. So, we're gonna bring her in. But we was having a unique conversation, and I wanted to do something different with this show and bring in a caller. So, like I say, Teresina, she's a very unique individual, very multifaceted with her personality, and she's a woman of growth, And we have some questions from a viewer that me and Teresina is going to ask. And what was the question?
Well, I got like 3 top questions. My question really is, at this day and age, how do we actually date each other, date men and women? Because it's no dating code, it's no dating, no rules to this, it's no boundaries.
So she's a loaded question off the cuff, Yadi. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to just have this conversation.
Right.
It was a meme or a quote that got put out there, and I was sharing with the sister and you all before we went live. Is at first I was like, I'm offended because I have a huge heart and I love to love people and make them feel good when they cross paths with me. But I think within like the last 2 weeks, like literally recently, I'm like, how you read something, or you hear something, but then you read it again and it catches you just right. And you're like, oh, okay.
Right.
So, the truth being that I think it is very hard to date now because we all are like becoming aware of our trauma, and healing is in the social media world, and we're talking about it, and especially as African Americans, it's this conversation of men versus women, and what men doing wrong versus what women doing wrong, and not necessarily a neutral accountability.
Right.
There you go. Yeah.
A neutral accountability, right? Because it's both of our faults. It's not male versus female, but it's both of our faults. But it's so rooted in what we're talking about.
Right.
Being raised on love versus survival, and what are the expectations between men and women, and identifying, is this some toxic mess rooted in survival, or is this actually
rooted
love?
Love.
Right. Is it love? And a lot of times, if we honest with ourselves, we don't even have a full, healthy understanding of what that means, love means.
Right.
Because we've been raised on survival.
Right.
So.
And at the end of the day, a lot of people that's being raised on survival, you have that one track mind, survive.
Right.
So a lot of times when you get with a person, you getting with them in order just to survive.
Right.
Right.
What is this relationship rooted on? Survival.
Right.
Yeah. You need something, I need something.
Exactly.
Exactly. We gonna use each other for something, but I don't like the word use.
Right. And I think it depends on, because I believe that God does use us as a vessel, right? But how you using me make a difference.
Right.
If you're using me and I'm using you, but we're using each other to enhance each other and move forward, then I'm good with that.
Better.
But if you using me till the first,
from check to check, then I'm gonna feel some type of way about that.
And we know that's survival. That's survival.
Right. And then you can get caught up with loving that person so much to the point where you will actually fund this person, financial responsibility and needs.
Because you've been raised on survival.
And this person genuinely and honestly love you, but this person never been taught to learn to love, never really had a mother, never had a father, was raised in a foster home.
Right.
You know, so depending on that person's background, that person's past experiences, depending on that person's different traumas they went through, you know, we really have to reflect into that person's mindset, because we have a lot of expectations of a person, and we look past the mindset, the mental illness.
But that's because there's no communication with one another no more. If I go and meet somebody in the bar right now, we're not finna talk about our life stories. If we like each other, we're finna talk about what we finna do after we leave this bar. We ain't finna get deep into conversation, which we should, before we even jump into somebody's bedroom.
And listen, when I was in Atlanta. When I was in Atlanta, I had met a female, and we was just friends. We was just talking, and she said, I could tell. She was like, I could tell you a hustler, because she was saying, you asked me what I do before you even asked me your name. And I kind of felt bad. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you know, we be more attracted to what a person, you know, even on Instagram, social media, everybody got whoever you want to be in today's era. You get to make your own name. You get to be who you are.
Whoever you want to be.
You know, so a lot of people is just invested into who are you, what you do, you know, where you trying to go, and what you can do for me. You know, but that same love should be reciprocated back.
Right.
If y'all, but it goes back to what you were saying. If we have an understanding of who we are, where we trying to go, and we have and we have that communication.
Right. Honest, open.
You know, so so once we have that understanding, then we know, well, this is what it is.
Well, you don't, and she just said you're not giving enough time. You're meeting somebody, for one, in places that don't even allow for these type of conversations to happen. But you'll get into bed and then wake up 3 months later and be like, well, I didn't know that he got beat by this person and he was psychologically damaged. But you had already been investing, you know, your time and your.
You done did a soul time with this person.
Right. It's the, and then you're trauma bonding a lot of times, because you meet people and you feel sorry because they grew up how you grew up, and then y'all get together on this, oh, woe is me, you know, and you literally are keeping each other stuck, and you see those relationships where it's just kid after kid, and neither one of them growing or prospering or going nowhere. It's just drama and fight after each other. And
Machiavellian relationships, what I call them.
Right, and that's a trauma bond, you know, because we ain't taking it. We don't know ourselves. How I'm gonna get to know you, and I don't even know me. Right. So I know how to relate to you in ways that's not healthy. They survival based type of, you know what I'm saying, connection. So of course we're not gonna be able to thrive or do nothing. You know.
All right, so give us one more question before we get out of here. We get to talking to Terrence. So Carla gone now.
How do you really know when you found the man of your dreams, when you know that is the one?
You know what? I think, and as soon as you said that, I was like, wow. A, I haven't met him, but B, I haven't met her in myself. So as I keep getting to know her, I'll keep meeting. Like this therapist told me this about a year ago, and it was so phenomenal and profound, and I hold on to it. When I meet somebody and I meet a man, like when I used to date in my 20s, he was a hustler, baby, riding D's and all of that. But as I growed, the type of dude that I was attracted to, he grew too. Right? So every time you meet somebody, you want to make sure that person is a certain percentage ahead of where you are. But guess what? That dude ain't meant to be your 100. If you at 45 and he at 100, sis, I'm gonna need you to get at 65, and I'm gonna need you to be cool right there and let that man teach you your lessons, right? Because the next brother gonna take you to 85, right? But because we be at 25 and be wanting a brother at 75, it ain't never happening. That's why you get the brother at 25 right with you. As you grow, you will attract better.
And then now, let me ask this. Okay, as older individuals, right? Sometimes you can go for the younger individual because.
What you talking about? Okay, so she's 27.
I'm just doing some thinking right now.
Yeah, right. Where we're at.
You know, and because a lot of older people get concrete thinking. You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? They
Yes.
stuck in their ways.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So they're not as flexible as
Yes.
somebody that's younger. You know,
Yes.
they're not as flexible
No,
and they're
they're
not
boring.
as
They're a lot boring. I'm literally like I'm in this middle space, and I just told a guy and a girl. I'm 42. You 45. We in that middle space, right? We could kind of hang with the 38, 36 year olds, but then we could go over here, right? The older men I meet, they're way more, like you said, stuck in their ways.
Right.
They already done traveled. They not already did. So you kind of gravitating towards younger people because their energy
and they
is
still
different.
got that adventure, that
Yes,
spontaneity,
life. They
that
wanna
spontaneity
explore.
there. Yeah, you know, 9 times out of 10, you know, the older guy, he just want to go home.
Yes,
he want to be up under the
yes,
NBA.
yes.
You know, he
He
can't
up
keep
there.
up. He
He
can't keep up with
no
the
more.
girls. Want to be in the hookah, want to be in the lounge, smoking the hookahs, drinking the drink.
No,
He
no.
up 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Look, he gotta
He gotta
go to work.
he gotta go get the grandkids. He trying to keep up with these young girls.
So it's,
You know.
it's a funny space to be in at 42 because I'm
Yeah.
like, so what I'm supposed to do? Because it's a gap. It's
Yeah.
a gap. It's a gap. It's definitely different.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Are you dating younger?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you dating older?
I just feel with my personality. I mean, my personality is tailored to a younger female. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little more energy with me, a little more vibrancy there, and it's a little more giddy up.
Yeah.
You know,
'Cause especially
you
the
know,
industry you're in.
with the older, a lot of older females are tired. You know, I mean, occupied. You know,
Grandma
they're
mothers and-
occupied. You know,
Yeah.
they go.
It's the
It's the
same.
same.
It's
You
the
know.
same. And if you're over, I guess if you're over 40, you're definitely either married or maybe you are divorced, and you know it's the same kind of attitude with men.
Right.
If they've been married for a while and they're over 40 and they're divorced, they're not trying to. But then if we haven't been married, we like, well, bruh. So
Right.
it's a space that you're like,
Right.
okay, well, how do I? Because we so in different
Right.
phases of our lives,
Right.
men and women are in this particular age. Now, you
Well,
27.
The older man, I don't want no man in my age bracket because they don't have the same mindset that I have. An older man is going to kind of be on the same
I
mindset.
thought that too, sis. I was.
See.
I
So
thought
now
that
you
too.
just have to just
I
meet
think
in
it's
the middle.
the person. You know what I
It's
mean? I think it's the
It's
person.
the person in their mindset.
Yeah, it's the person.
And-
Because I've met old dudes that still want to be 25 and it's not cute. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
it's the person. You know, I've met younger dudes that's been way more mature, way
Right.
more on top of their game than an older brother. So is it raised on love and survival?
Yeah.
That's what
You know, and a lot of times it's basically survival. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, as an older person, you gotta evolve with the world. You know, you want to show everybody that you still hip, you still cool, that you
right.
still. You little baby, and you know, in my music, you know what I'm saying,
right.
stuff like that. And at the end of the day, like the jazz, the R&B,
It's okay to
like
evolve and grow.
it's like that's becoming the thing of past for the older guys as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it's hard to find that music. I don't mean to interject. I don't know if you saw
Go
the
ahead.
interview with Tank. And I think it was Drink Champs, and he said, well, it's really by design that we don't really hear a lot of the soulful R&B music. We don't. Because it's meant to keep us together, right? That's the era that we grew up
Separated.
in.
Maze type music.
No, and he was saying by design, he said, think about.
They're not talking about the way of the world no more.
Right.
They're talking about fucking, sucking, buying change, buying cars. all
Right,
that.
Yeah.
things that don't matter in the grand scheme of
World
things.
for real.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, see, he was saying that artists like him, you know, don't necessarily get that notoriety. And then you see the younger artists, and when you hear their music, it's not that it's bad music, but it doesn't hold the weight that Frankie Beverly
Right,
or Marvin Gaye
right,
or, you know,
right.
Even Christopher Williams and Keith
It's
Sweat.
just
you know,
for the moment.
It's for, right.
It's
They
for the
don't have
moment.
legacy music. You're not going to
Right,
hear
you
this
can
50
play
years from
today
now.
and it's still a hit. You
Yeah,
can play
right.
Right.
Right,
Right.
right. All of those things matter,
So-
though.
So listen, man. Carla, give him your IG, give him your Instagram before we get out of here, so I can.
I don't be on Instagram. You can catch me on Facebook though.
Okay, give him your
My name
Facebook.
is just my
All right, Camila Kelly calling
Camila.
in with some great questions. And Camila, you know, we're going to study tap in with you, you know. And Camila she want to work on the relationship show. So we'll be bringing Teresina in soon and bringing her in physical form for a show.
I really want to do a whole panel, like 5 men, 5 women, where we can have a real deal debate and really see what different people's mindsets is at from all different age groups.
Yeah.
There
it
you
happen.
go. Any man, any woman out there, you know, with relationship and want to sit down and come and be on the panel of Yatlife Chronicles, you know, the door is open for you guys. Okay, Mila, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And, you know, the unique thing about, you know, you have to get other people's perspective about life and, you know, because a lot of times, a lot of people don't feel like their opinion matter.
Right.
You know, they feel like their thoughts don't matter. Mm-hmm. You know, was it ever a time, man, when you felt like your opinion didn't matter, that your thoughts didn't matter?
Like, listen, wrote a book about it. The Code of Silence. This title is so important to me because, like you said, people don't know that their voices matter because we get raised a lot of times in survival, in which you aren't properly taught how to use your voice, you know, and speak for yourself. So absolutely,
And you brought your book with you, I see.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I'm most recently I've had this book for 2 years, but I'm most recently walking into. I am a self-published author. This is my autobiography.
Okay, so you self-published your own book.
Yes.
Okay, so this is on Amazon.
Yes, it's on Amazon right
Okay,
now.
and what's the name of it?
The Code of Silence, Dirty Little Family Secrets.
Guys, see this? Yeah,
you can find it on Amazon. You can find me on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. The Code of Silence, my story.
Okay. So what precipitated this story?
Really getting to a space, like I said, where you're not allowed to use your voice as a child, and as you get older, you try to figure out how to use your voice, and you go through a lot of like recklessly using your voice. And although you mean well, it's not necessarily being used by God in a way that he or she or whatever you identify with is actually meant for that to be. And so the book is serving as a purpose, and me using my own voice to tell a story of so many women, so many people who aren't able to speak for themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just reading Napoleon Hill the other day, and you know, you ever heard of Napoleon Hill? Think and Grow Rich and Magic Ladder to Success. Yeah. And his wife said about him in her autobiography about him that he would never write until he had a message to put out, and he had to live he had to live that message within his own life.
Right.
You know,
absolutely.
So that message that you putting out there, that's your life. That's what you had to live.
Absolutely.
You getting other messages out, other people messages
absolutely. Even just my own grandmother and family members and, you know, other people that I've encountered along the way and helping to tell their stories, just knowing how powerful it is to be able to use your voice.
Right.
And speak your truth and stand on it.
Right.
And stand on it. So.
Right. And I know, so you originally from Saginaw, okay?
I was born in California. My mom is from Saginaw. My dad is from Mississippi. They got together here, and they went to California. In the process, they had me.
Okay.
Right. And then, you know, and you're going to get a copy of this book, and you read in the book. My mother is Italian American.
Okay.
My mother is, I know you're familiar with Demor's Market.
Okay, yeah.
So that's her bloodline. And my mother left this state in 1979 knowing that she had decided to be with a black man and what that meant for her. And so when she took that journey and got pregnant with me and got with my father in California, she found out that my father was going to become her nightmare. And I was born October 18, 1979. 2 months early, my father kicked my mother down a flight of stairs.
Wow.
Right. And I came into this world 4 pounds premature. Stayed in the hospital for a couple of months, and then in the first 2 years, my father was still very abusive to my mother and would jump on her in front of us. And one day, my mother decided she was going to leave, and she ended up coming back to Saginaw, sneaking and coming back to Saginaw. That's how we got back here.
Right.
And so for a long time, I was like, I ain't from here.
Right.
But I'm so from here. I am Saginaw, not born, but definitely raised.
Right. So what schools you went to?
All of them.
You did.
I grew up on survival.
Right.
And so
And listen, I think the 110% of us that grew up on survival around here.
What when they did the kickball tournament?
How much love we done grew up on?
Not a
around
lot
here?
and not enough. Not a lot. And it's absolutely so. You can see it, and not necessarily everybody realize that. It's an interview that Boosie do when he talk about people being so filled with hate they can't receive the love.
Right.
They can't receive the love and they can't see it there. And so
Right.
I went to, oh my God, I went to Jesse Rouse, I went to Clater, I went to Kelso, I went to Thomas White, went to Bridgeport Middle, I went to Weber for a minute, Carleton and Heritage. I graduated from Carleton.
Okay. So you got any college experience?
I do. I have a BA in Business Administration and Management from Davenport.
Okay.
And then I have an MBA in Public Administration with an emphasis on government and policy from Grand Canyon.
Okay.
Say hello.
And I always cut my phone off for my interviews. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I have the MBA in Public Administration, as I was saying, from Grand Canyon.
So how important is it for individuals to get that college education?
I think back 20 years ago, I was definitely sold the idea that if I went to school, my life would look a certain way. And so when you go to college and you invest that time, it took me moving to Austin in 2009 to go, wait a minute. Like I remember being told you overqualified and you overeducated. And I remember realizing that college was not going to change the fact that I was black. And that I had been raised on survival. All these things weren't changing.
Right.
And so I do believe you need education, but in 2022, you can teach yourself.
Thank you. And that's what I wanted to get to because how much school debt you have?
Oh my God. I'm 6 figures for sure.
And in the new world we live in now, education is being publicized on every internet platform possible.
Right.
To the point where you don't have to get financial aid. I say unless you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, where you got to get the pass to buy, trying to go in life.
Exactly.
But honestly, everybody is pushing themselves. Everybody is becoming their own entrepreneur. Everybody is becoming their own brand. We're in a way different era now. This is not the work era no more. A lot of people don't even want to work no more.
I don't know if you've seen it, like Michigan and other colleges are starting to offer a lot of free programs because they know that the trend is happening and people are turning away from school. So they're like, hey, come get this free education. Right. And then we can bait you into a higher program because we still need this money to survive.
Exactly.
School is a business model.
Yeah, and what they doing is getting out free programs because it's not as many people going to college.
No, not at all. They're
people
not
getting
working.
smarter now.
Yes.
People getting smarter now.
Yes.
They seeing that out. Even though I got this education, I don't have to be 6 figures in debt.
No. But a lot of us weren't properly educated back at that time when they were giving us out those student loans and Pell Grant money. I remember being at Davenport and really being coerced into a lot of what I did not need. And not being told, hey, that degree that you're going in is not going to be and not going to make no money.
And that's just the school hustle
it's
because the school gotta have they gotta make their money.
A certain amount.
That's just like if you go get a oil change, they're gonna tell you at the dealership, they're gonna tell you 200-300 things you need, spend $2,000 on, and you just here to get an oil change.
That's it. Well, it's the upsell.
Yeah.
It's the upsell.
So while you there doing this, we're gonna throw all this other stuff.
And you see it in your emails all the time. Like I'm offering you this, but if you for $9.99, if you just it's always that. And then by the time you realize it, and it took for me working in financial aid to go, hey, this kind of makes sense.
Exactly.
How did I get here? And I know that I didn't do, just not being properly educated.
Right. Yeah. And that's what we want to do on this show. We want to bring awareness, So that's why I told my daughter, before, she does dreads and then she also, she go to school for psychology.
Right.
And, she was doing dreads before she even went to college. And I told her, if you want to just make money, then you just stick with your mom and you just do dreads over here at the shop because if you go to college, then you're going to have tuition, but I did want her to go to college because I wanted her to, to get that mental development and that
Right,
mental growth.
right. And there are some very good reasons to go to school. I just don't think you have to be in debt.
In debt, right? Yeah, and that's the whole thing. We don't want to be in debt at the end of the day. So growing up, what was one of your worst lows that you had to go
Oh
through?
my God. That's if I had to pick one, I think it's a combination. My father dying and being like, there was a transition in my life where it's like my father died and my mother was a drug addict. And it was simultaneous. It was simultaneous. So it was probably the worst time of my life because I'm losing two people at the same time.
Right.
And I'm very small. I'm 5.5 going on 6. So I can say that because that was a pivotal moment in so many other lows happening. Yeah, for sure.
So give us some of the highs.
Writing this book. Writing
this
book because this is a journey for those of us who are raised in survival when we do move past the code of silence. It's not easy to do this and take on this journey and talk about things that are uncomfortable. Of course, my children, because they all, they both, they too. They, when you reflect and you really think about where you are in life and your children come in and the gift that they are. Whatever was going on in your life and wherever God presented them at that moment.
It make you reflect back. Yeah, like all my kids is every 10 years, and it make me remind every different decade of my life.
Decade of your life, right? And how significant it was, and whatever was needing to shift in your life at that time.
So, what do you think it's going to take for us to learn how to love instead of, being able to just survive?
Well, it's for one, being honest with yourself and saying, my definition of love is skewed because I was raised on survival. And that I need to redefine it first and foremost. And I have to learn to love myself before I go out in the world expecting the world and places and situations to do it for me. Before you can even go try to love people.
Right. So do you think a lot of people put a lot of dependence on the world instead of themselves?
Yeah. Because the work
Depend
is hard.
on loving yourself first instead of dependence on someone else to love you.
To do it.
Exactly.
I need you to do it for me.
Exactly. Growing up as a kid, growing up, seeing your mom, on drugs, seeing your father pass away, what kind of woman did that help turn you into?
I think a multitude of women. I went from being this very nerdy, shy, into books, very smart, to putting on masks and trying to
hide their pain.
Oh God! Because it used to be a book. I could just escape in the book, and then the book didn't work anymore.
Okay.
You know what I mean? The reality just became too much,
Right.
and then you start to, escape into other things. And I remember that again, transition from middle school to high school.
Right.
I was 12, going on 13, had super smart at that time, and started to try to be the cool girl. And so I've been that woman, trying to be popular, trying to be noticed, trying to get some sort of attention.
Right.
And then I've gone through periods of promiscuity, alcoholism, partying. My 20s was like black.
Right.
Like my memory is like, girl, we was at the club all the time.
Right.
Again, hiding pain. And so, being the girl, the party girl.
Just being right.
Yeah, being the party girl, being the ride or die.
Right.
If you need me to put the dope in the trunk, I can do.
Right.
I've been in all of those circumstances. And then I've been the at-risk youth worker, and I've been the community advocate, and I've protested police brutality, and I've showed up for mothers and youth genocide.
So where did that passion come from?
Because I grew up with a mother on crack, and so you see so much, and when you have seen.
But a lot of times it seemed like, growing up seeing that, you more or less enter the world.
I was, but it was so funny, and I'm so much of my mother. Even though my mother was on drugs, she wasn't the stereotypical person who was on the corner begging for drugs. My mother had a daytime life.
Right.
She was a functional drug addict. So she was the school PTA
Oh,
person
right.
and she coached volleyball. And so I was the same. You know what I mean? So because she was a resource and because she was community connected, even on drugs, I was raised that way. So I was working at the Civitan when I was 16.
Right.
But I was just messed up as everybody else in there.
Right.
But I did understand that there was something about being able to still give back. I've just always been.
Just always been something in your heart. Just always wanted to give back to people.
Yeah, right.
You know, tell us a little bit about your philanthropy and the things that you got going on as far as your
Oh
giving back
man,
to
I'm
the
just
community.
starting to connect in Saginaw. I haven't lived here in a long time, and so I'm just starting to get my feet wet in that work, and just connecting with individuals. There's a program that's being developed. I'm on an NDA, so I can't tell y'all the name. That I'm working with some very great people in Saginaw who are creating it's a community. And it's a community full of resources that we need as African American people, as urban people, from, you know, entrepreneurship and this. And you're somebody that I'd be like, hey, this is another person you should meet, because they are offering up services here that help the community hubs, you know, and connecting people. I am working with, I just began in a relationship with Camp Council because of the book and wanting to connect to as many organizations that are doing the work too. Saginaw Now, which is, you know, the business network and educating entrepreneurs on the process. I've been self-employed for a little over 10 years. And so giving the information, like, do you understand that? Like, in a nutshell.
Right.
Literally showing up. I've been to Ghana. I've been to Egypt. I've been in Dallas. I've been in Georgia, in Atlanta. I've been in Austin. And all I've ever done is just share information. This is something that can help you get to.
And we vicariously need that information.
Yes, right.
You been to Egypt?
Yes, yes.
How was that?
Yes. Oh, absolutely amazing. I took a 14-day trip with, you know who Dr. Umar is?
Dr. Umar
Johnson.
Yeah.
This was a while ago.
Uh-huh.
I did a 14-day tour between Egypt and Ghana to go really throughout Ghana. The majority of the time we went through the slave dungeons, slave castles, slave rivers. We took a whole 10-day. Oh, it's definitely psychologically, it's heavy.
Right.
It's heavy. It's amazing, but it's heavy
Right.
to go back into like the Cape Coast.
Right.
And literally, there's a castle, the Amina Castle, in which they take you in, and because the grounds have been preserved,
Right.
you can still smell feces and
What?
blood. And, oh yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God, I wouldn't. Oh. But I always wanted to go. Like in Baltimore, they got the slave museum. I always wanted to go on the slave ship.
Yeah. I mean, you should
go experience that. I always wanted to experience my history. I'm big on history.
Yeah, I know.
Especially
I pay attention to what you share too. I'm big
history,
on sharing information so that we're aware.
Yeah, because if we don't share information, then it's like, how do we grow?
I was gonna say, we keep ourselves locked out of the spaces that we actually say we want to be in.
Right. Here it is. You got a seed. But I got the water to make it grow.
And you won't give me no water.
Right, exactly. So how is it ever gonna grow?
Yeah, but you need a seed. And I'm like,
Exactly.
here you go. And then you're like, no,
I'm
gonna try to get a seed on my own.
Right.
And I'm like, no, but I got the seed. And so that's a lot of conquer and divide mentality that we have to unlearn. Even myself, and coming into some level of consciousness brings you into awareness of your own defects of character. Hey, I'm not doing this right. I've been taught wrong.
Right.
So now I have to work on changing that. That's what we have to do, is even just acknowledge, hey, we've been taught wrong a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And we need to
unlearn it.
Yeah, we need to
You know, especially in this era. You know, because like this era right here is the most indifferent era.
Oh, yeah. They throw you away, baby.
Oh my God. They'll throw you to the dogs quick, right? Kick you under the bus.
Listen,
everything.
I'm talking about you could be good at 8 in the morning and cancel by noon. Easy.
Where does that psychology come from?
It's survival. I'm so glad this was the topic. It is survival. Because like she said it and you said it, we're getting with people based on this need. I need you to supply my needs, you know, whatever it may be. So.
And then that one friend that I can't do nothing with, I can't benefit from. This one friend ain't got nothing. But this one friend was raised different than you.
Yeah.
This one friend wasn't taught to survive. This friend was taught to love.
To love. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And that's the person that you abuse when you're raised on survival. You take advantage. You take them for granted. You call them when you need to be bailed out when you're raised on survival. You don't nurture those relationships.
Because they don't have that financial standard. They don't have that financial quota that meets your standards.
Right.
You know, because in this world, everything is so materialistic. Everything is so monetized.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, if I'm like survival mode. But in the same sense, you gotta sit down and learn to love.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the hardest thing is to sit with yourself.
Right. And learn to love yourself.
Learning to sit long enough with the parts that are uncomfortable.
Right.
And actually learning to give your own self grace and patience and being kind to yourself. But we grew up, at least I know I did, I grew up being punished for not knowing, being, talked to a certain kind of way. So then what do I do with myself?
Right.
I talk to myself the same way I was talked to. So learning to, again, say, I don't even know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Yadi, you say you know how to love yourself. I have to allow somebody to love me till I learn how to love myself. Teach me how to love myself. Because my toolbox was empty as hell on what does that even mean?
And then the fact about just admitting it, you know what I'm saying, that, I need you to teach me how to love me.
Yeah. Because I don't know.
Because this tank is destitute of love.
Right.
It's definitely destitute of love.
Right.
We all being raised on survival.
Yeah.
But we have to teach ourselves to love at the end of the day.
Right.
Because we just not raised on it.
Right. Right.
So I wanted to talk to you also about just being able to see past a moment, being able to elevate your perspective at times, being able to conquer that emotional distraughtness that you're going through.
Man.
Because I know, like I say, I'll see that you really had a hell of a life, what I'm saying, that you came through and that you got through, How do you, when you at your most trying time in life, how do you, when you at just like your blood just boiling over, how do you just look past the moment, to elevate your perspective, to look past that moment and see if I do this to that person, or if I do this, or if I let my anger come out, this is what's going to happen.
Well, I've been to jail. I done faced 20 years in prison, so I'm real clear on it's a lot of things I'm not going to default back to. I know how to be angry and upset and frustrated, and I done yelled and I shouldn't have yelled. But I'm never going to physically commit a crime or harm because I already know that ain't the life for me. And so learning to emotionally regulate, and saying this ain't worth it. This isn't worth that. And so learning to do something different with that anger and that frustration where I didn't used to have that filter. It was just, but once I guess it depends on the consequence. So whatever a person's consequence, they call it rock bottom. Exactly. So facing 20 years in prison was rock bottom. It's a whole lot of stuff you can't do. And that's being drunk, being stupid, out here trying to sell drugs, those things that lead you to, this destructive behavior. So it's real easy for me not to do that today. I get pissed off.
Yeah. But you know how to keep them emotions in check.
That aspect of it. I definitely know I still get emotionally turned up on the inside because I'm still learning ways to channel that frustration and channel that anger. But drinking and drugging and beating up people and that type of stuff, that don't even cross my mind anymore. I'm learning other ways to deal with it and other ways that, hey, that's a little still destructive. Still a little toxic. But
So when the first time, because I know that you do you throw events for vendors.
Well,
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that, because I'm a vendor. I go around now. And that's like one of the most festive things I like to do. Is to take my clothes, and I love to go around being a vendor and meeting different people because
socialization.
And to be honest, it's like in this era, people be like, you need to get a stove. I be like,
For what?
I'm straight. I like to be on the move with my clothes. People might not be down here today.
Right.
You know, I need to be
Come
over there
out
with a
and
crowd at.
Yeah, and I don't
You
think
know,
it's necessarily
moving with the chaos.
a requirement, especially if you're that, you're a wanderlust and you travel a lot.
Yeah.
So, and the vendor opportunities do give you the ability to travel and explore and connect and network. And I don't consider myself a person who throws vendor events. I definitely,
what do you call that? Like,
well, my
title will be?
intention, I brand and I market. I help people brand and market. Sometimes we move too fast.
Right.
And so with Saginaw now, the intention was to provide resources, provide education, marketing, branding, community to Saginaw. And I held my first event in an attempt to assist someone. Hey, let me show you how to do this. And sometimes what's meant for us is meant, not sometimes, all the time, what's meant for us is meant for us. And the vendoring aspect of this and doing events was actually meant for Mamajana Flea Market. It was meant for me to brand and market and lead from the back. But and I know my lane, but the momentum picked up and I was like, okay, let me carry this.
Right.
And in carrying it, I think it took about 2 months to realize, no, that's not what I'm called to do.
Right.
And I need to shift back. I'm here to educate. I'm here to give resources to vendors. I'm here to teach them how to market themselves properly, structure their business. But I'm not meant to host. You know what I mean? I'm meant to teach and instruct. And I'm very aware of that. And sometimes we move our feet too fast. Right. And we have to go, whoa, what you doing? You out of bounds, you out of lane. But no. So still wanting to educate, but.
Right. So you work with a lot of small business.
Yeah. I've worked with small businesses and in some capacity, shape, or form since 2013. Whether it's administration work, database management, project management, like what you all would see me do online, assisting people to market and promote. You got an idea, baby, I can take you and give you 10, 15 different ways to sell it, promote it, and market it, and be able to, write content that is captivating and things. Storytelling, just finding different ways to tell stories.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and my friend was just talking, my cousin, he was just saying the same thing about we need to start an entrepreneur class.
Yeah, there's something coming too. That NDA that I'm talking about, there's some others. And I mean, there's a lot of people out here, I think, that educating for sure. I'm not sure that we always know in Saginaw where to go, where people are teaching. Like I have a connection and partnership with Saginaw Valley.
Right.
And on Thursdays, Carly Robinson offers 15-minute free business consults that you can just call and say, I'm struggling with this. Give me some guidance. And there's resources out there that are free, but the information. What happens is somebody finds that information and be like, I ain't telling you, I ain't about to go out here and mess it up for me.
Exactly.
And so then you don't know that there's so many resources.
Because a lot of people don't properly have their stuff together. A lot of people want funding for their business, but they using their same number for their their personal number for their business number.
Residential address.
They don't have no EIN.
Right.
They don't have no LLC.
Right.
They don't have a business plan.
Right.
And I've been experiencing a lot of that myself.
Right. I think we all have. I was fortunate to have some education behind me, to have a little bit of information. Trust me, the education I got was not enough to run a business, through and through. And so I did things. Some ways I did things right when I started, and some ways I did things I wouldn't even need to do. Right. And so in backtracking and getting things together again over the years, I've done business what they consider under the table and above the table. Okay? Yeah.
Making it by hook or crook.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, that's what it is.
Don't get me wrong. You can operate as a sole proprietor and not be in a position to have all these liabilities as an LLC, but terminology gets thrown out there. And we be like, girl, I got to get my LLC. And you're not even ready for that phase of business. Right. You're still you just coming out the trunk.
Right.
You ain't all the way out the trunk yet. You're
Yeah.
still operating as an individual. We can operate like that and still get tax breaks for a long time. We could put our businesses in trust and avoid a lot of liability that you see. Caucasian Americans. There was a NBA coach years ago that got a divorce, and they were like, his wife couldn't get anything because his business was in a trust, protected. So these different ways, depending on the business, depending on where you're at in business. Sometimes we move too fast. Even if you're still hustling out the trunk, there's still laws that you have to adhere to because you are considered a peddler. So you don't necessarily have to go out if you're not ready to. If you just want to keep selling Yatlife shirts on the corner, at the street corner, and you just get your peddler's license, you're good.
Exactly.
You're good, but needing to know where you're at and where you want to go. Like when you said with the business plan, where am I trying to go with this business? What am I trying to do? Because everybody cooking barbecue. Everybody. This summer was a killer.
Yeah.
But everyone's not having a conversation about why we ain't went to the old Ryans, and everybody that barbecue be in Ryans, and everybody that cook greens be in Ryans.
Exactly.
And now we're really capitalizing.
Right.
On. Instead of, you got this one got an LLC, he got a sole proprietorship, you got your food truck license, you got the self-serve, he got the temp, he ain't got nothing.
Right. Right.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
And you have to be. You need your LLC though. So when do you feel like? Because I know your LLC is to protect you.
Right. You're being protected
to give you your
from
protections.
Right. But until if you're truly going to maximize the benefit of an LLC. I'm not saying you can't go apply for it, because you can, obviously, make $1 or $10 or $10 million. But the goal of an LLC is to maximize these tax breaks. If you aren't making money, what tax breaks are you actually benefiting from? You have to pay quarterly taxes. You're getting double taxed for this asset protection, and you don't even have assets. What are you protecting?
So in order to get those loans, you have to
can still be a sole proprietor.
You have to file 2 years worth of taxes?
Not all. It depends on, like when you're first starting out and building business credit, as long as you have you have the commercial telephone number, you've got your commercial address, whether that's a resident, a virtual, box, or a resident agent. You've got your EIN, your structure is in place. You can go and get net 30 and net 60 accounts without using your Social Security number.
Y'all hear that, guys?
Right, and you're still able
net 30,
to
net 60 accounts.
Net 30, net 60 accounts as you're building up your business credit history. It builds not the same, but similar to personal credit. Now, as you're building that line of credit up, and say you're getting like all of my cleaning supplies and all of my household stuff, my computer paper, all of that comes from those net 30 and net 60 accounts, right? While I'm building up that credit so that I actually can apply for business loans in fiat currency, money. But in the beginning of trying to build business credit, if my personal credit isn't good, then I can't
be a business credit.
You can't apply for it.
A lot of people be telling me, and when I apply for business credit, and they say, well, you're denied. And I say, well, business is tied to your Social Security number, isn't it?
So you, at some point, depending on what you're applying for, that's what I'm saying, the net 30 and the net 60 accounts, they're not asking for what they call a PG, a personal guarantee, which is your Social Security number. So as you're building up your business credit through the net 30 and net 60 accounts, you're building up the credit history. You're likely, because now you got some personal guarantee there. Now you got some money that they can say, okay, this person is built up. It's not the same as 600 and 700. It's like 80 paydex scores. So you build up enough of that business credit so they can start giving you a loan. Now, if you default on that loan, guess where they coming to get that money from? You as the personal guarantee.
Exactly.
So if you know that your personal credit isn't good enough, don't go in trying to get $10,000. Go get the net 30 accounts. Go get the net 60 accounts. Build up the history. As you have to build up, there has to be so many payments made by, for instance, I use a company called Quill. You have to spend at least $50 a month for Quill to report to Duns and Bradstreet, to Experian, to all of the creditors. Those same creditors are business creditors too when you go to...
So you just paying $50, that's not even no account you even put that money
just say
in.
that's not...
You just paying $50 to telegraph it.
No, so I'm saying, say you bought $50, you're going to spend at least $50 minimum in buying, say I'm buying just supplies. In order for it to report to the credit bureau, you have to spend a minimum of $50 a month, right? So each month, these trade lines are getting reported the same way they would on your personal credit. But it takes so much history before it even starts to show up.
Right.
Before you even start to generate a
So that's
score.
why it's important that to start today.
Right. Today, go in. There are net 30 and net 60 accounts that don't require you to have an LLC. You only need an EIN. You only need a business address, which you can get. The company I use is Anytime Mailbox. It's $9.99 a month for the address. I spend $15 a month at Verizon for the telephone number. So that, because if you don't get those things, the denial that you're getting is because the system recognizes it's a residential address and not a commercial. They didn't even check your credit score. System automatically denied you because a Google Voice number is not a commercial line.
Right.
Those things that have to be there first. If you guys go into the
Right.
Saginaw Now group, there is a business credit file of 1 through, I think it's like 1 to 10, how to build business credit fast in like 90 days. And you literally want to get as many net 30. You will have 10 gas cars, don't need them. But you
Right.
that's when you go, my homeboy drive trucks. Okay? I don't need $10,000 a month worth of gas, but he do. Now you helping somebody that's helping you.
Right.
Because you can report for each other. You are a business, I'm a business. So each month I can say, Yatlife spent $50 with me, and I did administrative work for him. Now guess what that's reporting to? Your business credit. Right? So it's ways to get around it to build up that score so that you can get to a point where your credit score is allowing you to get money.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not complicated as it sounds, but it's definitely it's a 1, 2, 3 step.
So with your Saginaw Now, tell us a little bit about that.
Saginaw Now is a online community on Facebook. Really just became about because in Saginaw we don't. If you go to Atlanta, you can go search and there's all kinds of business groups, Black-owned business groups, entrepreneur groups on Facebook in which you can network and connect with other business owners. We didn't have that. We had the Newswatch groups and we had the yard sale groups, and it just one day was like, this is not where we're supposed to be. This is not. You're not supposed to advertise your book for sale in the yard sale group.
Right.
And so I ended up creating the group, not realizing how much
impact it will be.
And how the information that was missing that needed to be shared.
Right.
Yeah.
And man, we just want to thank you, man, for filling that void in,
Thank
man,
you.
and Saginaw, man, and just bringing that awareness, bringing that entrepreneurship to the table, and being able to teach us, because I done learned a lot of things today, about net 30, net 60,
Right.
that I
I'll
definitely will be utilizing,
Oh, absolutely. There's so many ways for us to, again, excel, expand, and grow our businesses with information that's absolutely free. Just literally, you can Google right now.
So this information, with your class, this information, where can we tap in with this information at?
Well, the Saginaw Now group is on Facebook. It's Saginaw Now. It's SAGINOW with a question mark. And in the file section, there's all sorts of different files there for business owners to. They're educational guides for you to use. And if you get in there and you still need assistance, you can absolutely reach out in the inbox. And like I said, it's a 1 through 10 step process that I'll share with you all. And a lot of you have got probably the first 3 to 5 steps done, but you stopped. And you didn't know that there was, and it's really not hard. It's really not hard. So, yeah.
So, we'd like to thank Ms. Teresina Jackson for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
The message is today is just that we want to be raised more on love, Even though we've been raised on survival, we want to learn how to love more. Yeah. Teresina come from a tumultuous background, seeing her father die, seeing her mom on drugs, and she went through different adversities, different difficulties, abysmal things in her life, that helped her become the woman that she is now.
So sweet.
And she's definitely, showing us how to love, with her programs and everything that she's offering. So what's your social media platforms?
I am, as the book is The Code of Silence. It is on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and YouTube, excuse me. And then I just actually transitioned into a company called Neuropreneur. We are assisting entrepreneurs who are on the spectrum, ADHD, autism. So you can find us Neuropreneur, NEUROPRENEUR, Business Solutions and Services.
Okay.
Thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
Man, and listen, we will be seeing more of Teresina,
Yes,
We'll be
for sure.
bringing her to the show, And I wanted to introduce you, introduce her to you guys, and for you to get an understanding of who she is, get familiar with who she is, She's part of the Yatlife Chronicles family now, so we definitely will be bringing her in more, to talk about relationships. We just gonna have to do a whole
show, right?
'Cause, we ain't want the
so
viewer
much
to
to
take
talk
it all,
about.
right?
Yeah,
It is,
yeah,
and we
yeah.
have so little time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
you for having me, though.
Man, and I appreciate
Man,
you.
You better
you
go
know?
give me some love.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's all about love, even though we was
Absolutely.
raised on survival, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Let's be able to love, you know what I'm saying?
Learn to
So
love yourself.
learn to love yourself so you can love everybody else.
Absolutely.
Catch me on Yatlife Chronicles on YouTube. Catch me on Fortitude Yatlife on Facebook. And catch me on Yatlife 1976 on Instagram. This is another edition of Yatlife Chronicles where we are better together than separated. Thank you guys for tuning in.